Are you constantly feeling unproductive? Every time you have a break, whether it be the school holidays or the weekends after work, you always feel a sense of regret and restlessness after it's over for not doing something productive. Continue listening as I discuss on why you're always feeling this way, and it's not a bad thing. Hi everyone, Tousou Caveman here. I post videos challenging myself to learn as many skills as possible while talking about various interesting topics to motivate you to become a better version of yourself than before. While we discuss on today's topic, I'll be learning a new pen spinning skill called the double infinity. Do learn it together with me while listening to my commentary. I'm not that old when I say this, but back during my school days, whether it be during secondary school, polytechnic, or during university, I've always had this feeling of regret, restlessness, disappointment, and a multitude of others when I'm being unproductive. After my exams, I'll have a couple of months of break where I can do all the things that I've always imagined wanting to do when I was studying for my exams, such as picking up a new skill, reading more books, work on my hobbies, and exercise more. However, I find myself doing things that don't require me getting out of my comfort zone, where I simply sat on my chair in front of my computer playing games all day, lay on my bed watching videos, or taking endless number of naps throughout the day. I'll always tell myself that I don't always have to do something productive and I deserve to just lay back and watch shows once in a while after all that stressful studying. I reminded myself that I can just start the next day, but it ended up being more than that. I repeated the same cycle for days, weeks, and the next thing I know, the school break was over already. Once it's all over, I will feel a strong sense of regret for wasting my holidays away and not doing what I've set out to do. I imagine if I simply dedicated just an hour to what I wanted to do, such as working on a new skill, I would have been somewhere I'm proud of after doing that for that couple of months of school break. Procrastination has always been a huge factor in everything that we want to do. Despite knowing what we have to do to achieve what we want, we tend to procrastinate since we think that we have all the time in the world. If my 3-month long break just started, I would tell myself that since I have such a long holiday, there's no harm slacking off for the first few days and just do unproductive things, such as watching shows and playing computer games all day. But because I've started off the holiday with this, the momentum to continue what I've been doing will only continue to get stronger as the days go by. By the time I'm supposed to stop this procrastination, that urge to continue would have been so much stronger that I will just continue for the rest of the holiday. Upon reflection, what I should have done was to have started on my holiday plans immediately. It doesn't have to be a full-out schedule, back to back, where I fill my entire day with what I'm supposed to do, but I should have at least started, whether it be 30 minutes or an hour for each task, to simply keep the momentum going. With that, by the middle of the holiday, I would have progressively reached to a point where I'm much more focused on my goals and can dedicate a much longer time without having to break that huge mental barrier of laziness if I were to have started off from nothing to something. It's like trying to break a wall with a snowball, when it would have been much easier if I have started rolling that snowball from the top of the hill and eventually letting it roll by itself down as it gets bigger and into the wall. As I grew older, such as during my university days, my holidays were much more productive compared to my school holidays during secondary school. I would set goals to achieve for the holidays and would try my best to dedicate some time, no matter how little, to achieve that goal. For example, I've always wanted to speak fluent Japanese. Thus, I would try my best to dedicate at least 30 minutes to work on Japanese exercise books. However, despite this improvement, I will still experience this nagging feeling that I'm not doing enough and I'm still unproductive. Even if I managed to do what I needed to do, spreading it out throughout the day totaling hours of work, I still can't shirk this feeling away. In fact, this feeling of being unproductive only increased as I grew older. No matter how much work I did, that feeling stays the same. With that, it got me thinking, maybe this feeling wasn't so much as being tied to my productivity of occupying my time with things other than slacking off watching videos throughout the day, but instead to things that would help me to achieve my goals. But wait, if I'm dedicating my time to working on things that I've set out to do right in the beginning of the holiday, they should be goals that I want to achieve, right? Well, true, but think of it this way. If you tell yourself that you want to eventually become a national long-distance runner, would dedicating hours and hours of running of the same distance every day help you achieve that goal? You may be thinking that it would, but if you don't constantly push yourself to run faster and over a longer distance in the same time frame, will you actually improve and reach your goals? If you constantly run that same distance every day, you eventually become accustomed to it. Even if you do naturally started to run faster, you eventually reach a plateau that no matter how much you run, you can't seem to break the barrier to the next level. And this leads to my enlightenment in this question of how we can tackle this feeling of unproductivity. We have to become uncomfortable. Even if we fill up our entire day with things that we should be doing, if we don't try to constantly improve after each session, you'll always feel this strong sense of regret and restlessness. I suppose if you were to fill up your day with activities that you have planned, you won't have this feeling of unproductivity anymore. But you'll only last for a few days, a couple of weeks, and you'll eventually start having this feeling back again, and probably even stronger. You'll start questioning yourself where it went wrong as you have already planned a full schedule, can't find the answer, and might even give up everything altogether since nothing can rid this feeling of unproductivity. And that's where we have to remind ourselves that we have to constantly be uncomfortable, keep learning, and pushing boundaries, rather than keep doing the same thing over and over again. At this point, you probably spotted an irony. If we have to become uncomfortable to rid this feeling of unproductivity, which is a feeling of uncomfortableness, wouldn't that mean that we'll always feel uncomfortable no matter what we do? And this brings me to my next point. This feeling of unproductivity, this sense of regret and restlessness, is actually a good thing. This feeling is an indication of your desire to improve. You shouldn't see it as a feeling that you should try to rid off, but instead, a source of drive and motivation to keep pushing boundaries and improving yourself. With this constant nagging feeling, you'll always be unsatisfied with what you're doing, and will constantly find ways to improve, work on yourself, and not waste time on unproductive things that won't help you achieve your goals. Is there anything wrong with not doing things that helps you achieve your goals? Should you always be doing things that help you towards that? Well, I suppose that's a separate topic that I'll be diving into next time, but to summarize it all, a life without goals will only leave regrets when time eventually runs out. We only have one chance at this, which is this one life that we have right now. If you don't try your best to reach the goals that you have always wanted, when are you going to? Can you do something about it as you lay on your deathbed? I suppose the answer is obvious, but of course, life is more than chasing your goals and dreams. There's nothing wrong with having some time off doing completely nothing, staring out into space, and just let your mind wander. But it's important to remind yourself to have that nice balance, such that you won't have any regrets in the future. With every video that I'm posting on this channel, as much as I'm trying to provide value to whoever that's watching, every video is a chance for me to reflect on what I can improve for myself. Upon the posting of this video, it doesn't mean that I've already reached complete enlightenment, and I've completely rid this feeling of unproductivity, and I'm at the pinnacle of success. This channel is basically a reason for me to sit down and reflect on how I can improve myself, while at the same time motivating you guys to follow the same. What are my plans moving forward? As much as I try to maximize my time working on my goals throughout the day, even after a hectic day at my work, I will continue to remind myself to always push boundaries, don't stop learning, don't be too comfortable, and eventually, the future me on my deathbed can at least look back to the me right now and give me a pat on the shoulder and say, "You have done well."